All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining in to hear me speak. This is the first webinar that we're doing with the Shift Focus, and the idea behind this is not necessarily to tell you what the course is about, rather tell you what the essence of the course is. Give you an idea of what I will be doing over the 3 months, which we will be starting on the 18th of November. And which will be going on till about the third week of February. The basic idea was that since storytelling is common to all types of cinema, all genres, all applications of cinema, but the two places where they actually come very close together, one is advertising and one is fiction. The difference being in advertising, we eventually turn the story into a plug or a placement for a product or a service. Whereas in a fiction story, the protagonist has to reach the culmination of his or her journey, and it is not necessary to be selling a product or a service. It is more to entertain you with the dramatic narrative, and it is more to keep you engaged with ideas and to keep you engaged with whatever happens in the story, with the ups and downs and the twists of the plot. Now, let me start with advertising. I believe, and I've been saying this for a while, advertising is the mother of all media. If you take advertising away, there'll be nothing. There'll be no newspapers, there'll be no radio, there'll be no television, there'll be no OTTs, there'll be no internet. There'll be nothing. Who's going to sponsor the mediums? How are you going to engage with any kind of communication? There has to be somebody who has to put in the money, put that platform up, and for you to be able to view or listen or read or engage with or interact with a message. Communication. Communication can be entertainment, communication can be education, can be entertainment, can be propaganda, can be just about anything. But a communication, an idea. So we're in the business of selling ideas. Those ideas can eventually lead to selling just about anything. We are basically in the business of selling ideas. Now, when we come to advertising, why am I trying to first, I want to speak first about advertising and then I'll take you through a little bit of promotion and we'll eventually go to fiction. The reason that I am trying to explain advertising to you is because in today's market-driven industry, every industry today is market-driven. Everything is market-driven. Without money, there's nothing, honey. It's all about money, right? So everybody's trying to sell something to make you lose on your purse strings and make you buy things that you don't necessarily need. We're all the time trying to make you invest either your time or your money or your effort in an idea to make you spend. You have to spend. That's what advertising is all about. Advertising is trying to constantly make you or force you or influence you to make the informed choice to go and buy a product or a service which will make your life better, which is more aspirational, where you'll feel that your life has really improved, everything has become so sexy, and the living conditions are awesome, and you've arrived, right? Medi sari usi sari se safed kaise? Super inki chamkar zyada safed, super inki chamkar comes, your sari becomes whiter than the whitest, and you feel, aha, nobody can be whiter than me, right? So you feel good. It's a feel-good feeling. You feel excited, you feel good, and you feel that this product is going to change my life. I'm going to get the look that will please me and will please everybody, and I will outshine just about everybody. This also comes with our obsession with fairness in this country. We're obsessed with fairness. We're obsessed with people who are fair rather than people who are dark. Unfortunately, we are constantly promoting the fair look. Fair and Lovely, right? I'm glad Fair and Lovely is one off the shelves finally. And all Fair and Lovely really did was sell you bleach and expecting you to believe that you're going to turn fairer. If you really don't turn fairer, it's a waste of money. So that's the whole point. So that's what advertising is always constantly trying to do, make you buy things you don't need. But till it isn't there, you won't have anything at all to view or to engage with or to get entertained by. Now, the best way to understand what advertising really does, I believe, is through detergent commercials. Detergent, Ariel, Surf, Fina, Nirma, Vanish, XYZ. I think that detergent commercials are the best way to understand what an ad film really does and how it influences you, how it makes you want to think that this product is aspirational and how it will, change your life and suddenly everything will be fine. Usually, the way we break up a 30-second TVC being television commercial, is usually we set up the ambience, we establish the characters, we establish the setting of the characters in the first 7 seconds. In the first 7 seconds, you know exactly what the scenario is, who are the characters, where are they placed, and from the 8th second, the degree of difficulty comes in. That what is the main protagonist up against? In a detergent commercial, she is usually up against a bad, substandard product which is not washing her clothes or which is not helping a husband. For instance, I think that there was a very famous campaign where because of the way she washes the guy's clothes, he gets a promotion in office, right? So it's always the typical housewife who is doing it for the husband, and the husband going out and he's getting successful, right? So by the 8th second, the degree of difficulty comes in. The problem with the product comes in, and that's when, for the first time, you see the branding of the product that is to be promoted. It may come in as a color code. It may come in as just as a subliminal message, but it's always there. And then the moment this woman switches to looking at the other product, there'll be a demo section of how her life has become easier. There'll be a lot of foam. The clothes will look cleaner. They'll be washed really well. And at the end of it, she'll be like, say ahata kind of thing, right? Like she's cracked it. You know, she's cracked it. Life is easier. The clothes look awesome. And she's arrived, and the husband comes and gives her this warm hug or pat on her back, and like, that's it, her day is made. And as her day is made, the aspiration for the other housewife sitting at home is, wow, I need this product. My day will also be. So you are creating an aspiration in the minds of the audience to want to invest in something which they don't necessarily need, or which may not be qualitatively so much better than what they already have. But the story makes you want to believe in the credibility of a product, in the credibility of a brand, and entices you and challenges you to try it, to invest in it. And the moment you invest in it, you automatically, psychologically feel that you have a better product. Whether the product is better or not is a different issue altogether. But you automatically are made to believe that, look, this is it. This is what I wanted, right? This is it, right? I mean, let's take the example of iPhones, for instance. We've seen people standing for miles, 5 miles, just waiting for the store to open and to go and buy the new iPhone. Does buying the new iPhone necessarily change your life? No. I think that buying the new iPhone certainly burns a hole in your pocket, right? It may do anything else, but it's a whole lot of money. You can buy 10 phones for that same amount of money, is what I believe. But it's aspirational, it's sexy, it's a lifestyle good, and the moment you have it, you feel you've arrived. So the whole point is to make it's a feel-good factor, to make you feel that you achieved something, and to make you feel that if I have this in my life is going to change forever. That's what advertising fundamentally does. So similarly, if you just push this a bit, I'd like to show you one film. Can the first clip be played, please? This is a film I'd made for a US client. This is a web-based film, so it's slightly longer than 30 seconds. It's 47 seconds. It's an animated commercial.
Hi, I'm Lily, and I'm off for my piano lessons. It may seem a little late to you for little girls like me to be out cycling alone. Mom and Dad are not worried because they know exactly where I am, whether I'm in school or chatting on the move. But it wasn't always like this. Mom used to call me every 5 minutes to check on me. InZone keeps them informed of every location I visit automatically. InZone gives my mom, dad, and me peace of mind.
Right. So this basically is a film about a security app, right? There's an app which is downloaded into your smartphone where the parents know exactly where the child is. So they can keep track of wherever the child is going. So the story here is through this little girl who's going for a piano lesson. She's cycling. She would normally probably take 30 seconds, but today she takes 47 seconds or 45 seconds because she sees a kitten on the way and she stops the cycle and she starts playing with her. So unlike otherwise, and we as parents get very anxious about our children, because the children don't really care about the parents' anxiety. So this is one way where the parent knows where the child is, irrespective of whether the child is informing the parent or not. So she knows exactly that this is the amount of time she takes to reach her piano class. Why is she taking longer? So when she sees and she pings her, she immediately texts her back saying that this is the reason I've stopped and I'm on my way. So the anxiety is allayed. She feels relieved. There is no unnecessary calling or there is no unnecessary pressure mounting as far as the parent is concerned. And the parent knows very well where the child is. So the degree of difficulty is met and the degree of difficulty is circumvented or surmounted, and the child reaches the piano class, and both mother and child are happy at the end of the day because of this one intervention. So this is how most commercials go. The product intervenes to make your life better. The product is what is the catalyst for solving your problem. It could be even a service, right? If you remember the Vodafone pug, right? When the pug used to come in the commercial, you did not even need to be reminded about the service. Let's not go into how good or how bad Vodafone is. That's a different issue altogether. But just the pug, just that pug became such an icon and such a symbol of the service that Vodafone was providing that the moment we'd see the pug, we knew it was all about Vodafone. So it's really all about creating brand association, what we call brand association, what we call recall in your mind that the moment you see this, one of the best lines I've heard written by the great writer Kamlesh Pandey when he was an advertising writer was, whenever you see color, think of us, Jensen and Nicholson. You may not remember the line when you see color, but you definitely remember the line when you go to buy paint. Right? So it's basically making you want to believe in the promise of a product by selling your brand to make sure that when you go to buy that product category, you will buy that particular product, which is playing in the back of your mind thanks to a commercial, thanks to narratives. Right? So this is how we apply these ideas into selling products or services. Now let's stretch this a little bit and let's go to fiction. What are we doing in fiction? In fiction, what do we do fundamentally? Now, the one basic thing which is common to both advertising and fiction writing or fiction filmmaking is what we call dramatic narrative. We're all the time in the space of creating drama. And that drama is in the form of storytelling. And that storytelling is a narrative, there's a narration, right? What is drama? How do we create drama? Drama is fundamentally creating a conflict. So there's a thesis and an antithesis. There's a Ram and a Ravan. We're right now in the middle of Dashera and Diwali, so that's probably the best example to give you right now. And we are constantly rewriting Ramayana or Mahabharata in this country, whether we like it or not. And this is not a Hindutva lecture, so don't get me wrong, right? But that is our ethos. Those are our epics. Those are the epics that we keep rewriting. So there's a black versus a white, or a white versus a black. So Ram is whiter than the whitest, Ravan is blacker than the blackest. And there's a conflict. What is the conflict? That Ram's wife Sita is kidnapped by Ravan, and Ram goes to fight Ravan, vanquishes him, kills him, brings Sita back. So the whole point is that there's a thesis versus antithesis, and the thesis has a journey. Every protagonist has a journey. Every story is a journey. The journey is from point A to point Z. Point A is establishing what the character is, understanding what the journey is, and point Z is culmination of the journey. Every time that an antithesis will come and stop that journey, will come in conflict with the thesis, is what is called a plot point, is what is called a dramatic high point. That's where drama happens. There's always a hero which is being stopped by a villain. A villain and hero don't necessarily always have to be human. They don't necessarily always have to be gods. It can be environment. It can be robotic. It can be mechanical. It can be just about anything. But there is one person or set of persons, whatever may be the gender, who are on a journey to reach a culmination eventually. Every time that that journey is stopped or it is interrupted is where the drama happens. Right? Eventually, in a fiction story, there's a culmination. There's a culmination in advertising also. The only difference being, in the fiction story, the hero or the heroine has reached the culmination of their journey and they've achieved what they set out to achieve. There was this film called Lakshya many years ago, Hrithik Roshan's film. I don't know if you saw it. But Lakshya is what dramatic narrative is all about. The hero or the heroine has to attain their Lakshya. They have to reach their goal, whatever may be the goal. It may end as a tragedy, it may end as a comedy, it may end as happily ever after, it may end as an open-ended story. That doesn't matter. But still, there has to be a culmination of the journey. The journey has to end somewhere, right? We can leave it to interpretation. A lot of horror films are left to interpretation. You finally find that those horror eyes which were there in somebody who's been vanquished are again seen in a child, and the saga continues. So there's scope for a sequel, maybe, right? Or a prequel, whatever. These days, everything is seeking sequels and prequels, right? The more, the merrier. So you try and come to the end of a story, you try and culminate the story, but does the story necessarily culminate is really up to the type of narrative or the type of story or the type of application in which genre you're working in determines for you, right? Okay, with me so far? All right. Can we see the second clip? Now, this is a film I had made for a corporate client, and this is more of a promotional film, but this is in the discipline of a fiction film. I'll just show you the first 1 minute and 12 seconds. Now, as you clearly saw, that here also there is a dramatic narrative. Let's forget the environmental protection slide that comes in the middle, right? Let's forget that. Let's just look at this as a holistic story. It's simply this, that there are children playing on the beach, and as children playing on the beach, they make a castle, and they want to play with the castle, and then suddenly a high tide comes in, and the high tide threatens the castle, as it may get washed away since it's made of sand, and the kids stand in front of the castle and try and protect it from the high tide. Yet the water does dissolve the castle to a certain extent, so they go and while the mothers watch, they go and get more mud and they rebuild the whole thing, and they make sure that the castle remains for them to play with it till they are at the beach. So again, there's a thesis, the thesis being the kids, the castle being their creation, and there's an antithesis, which is the sea, which wants to destroy the creation. And now they protect the creation, and eventually they play on happily ever after, right? So these kids' journey was to go to the beach, create a castle, play with the castle, and the culmination is that they continue to play with it despite the snag and the hitch that comes in because of the sea coming into the beach, right? So if you look at the structures of both the films I've shown you, they're very similar in the way they go. They all have the same problems, that there's a protagonist, there's a conflict that the protagonist has to overcome or circumvent, and eventually what the protagonist does to move ahead and to create a better environment or a better life or a better way forward in culminating the journey, so that the problem that he or she faced is no longer going to bother them. So this is basically where we're at, and we're trying to create that is the reason why I combined both these disciplines to create this course for you guys, to make sure that we can simultaneously learn two disciplines, applications of both the disciplines, and we end up making some interesting work, doing some good films, to make some good scripts together. The work will all be yours. I will only be guiding you. I am not going to hold your hand and write it for you, or I'm not going to hold the camera and shoot it for you. So the idea primarily, like I said, is to demystify this whole process. Of course, like Aruna ma'am said, everything is available on the net, right? You can just go to YouTube and view all the videos all about filmmaking and writing and advertising, and every discipline of filmmaking is available to you. But is it as simple as that? Don't you need to understand the processes from a more comprehensive perspective, from a demystifying perspective, to try and really get to the gut of it? And eventually, whether you want to become a filmmaker or not, you will definitely be enriched by the learning of the craft. That I can guarantee you. You will definitely have many, many skills that will be developed for you as we go along in those 3 months. We hope to start on the 18th of November. So as you already know, you should be signing up really soon, and we will take it from there. Now, before I open it up for any questions and answers and so on and so forth, I want to show you one last film. This is a film made a few years ago by students of mine. So this was an institutional film, and as most institutional films are concerned, there was really no budget for this. So most student films are made, by begging, borrowing, stealing, putting it together, trying to take favors from just about everybody, and somehow making something so that at least you made a film at the end of your course. So this is exactly what my students at EMDI had done a few years ago. Uh, but despite that, what I really want you to see is that they have tried to bring in a certain degree of finesse. They have tried to bring in a certain degree of professionalism, despite the near zero budget film that they made.
Sayo Rider, a futuristic smartphone with features like drag and drop, ScanR, M-Drive, and more. Sayo, future is now.
As you saw in this film, the idea is that there's this very aspirational phone that this woman wants, but that phone is yet to come into the present, it's in the future. So she kind of crosses over dimensions and goes into the future and steals the phone and brings it back to the present. So that was basically the idea behind what we tried to do. So the reason I showed you this film is that the idea is more important. The execution comes later. So don't be driven by form, be driven by content. The form will come together. Make sure that your content is strong. Make sure your content holds. Make sure your story holds. Your story must hold. Your story has to have that fundamental cohesion and synergy of beginning, middle, and end. Whether you look at it from the middle or from the end or from the beginning, it has to backward integrate. There has to be an inverted pyramid. If you can backward integrate your story, then you've got a great story. Then you can pick it up from anywhere. So you can go linear, you can go non-linear, you can go just about any which way, and you can create a really, really, really good story. So these are the kind of things that we will be trying to do together. Now I'm open to questions of any kind, any doubts, anything. I believe there are many, many of you out there listening to me right now. So it'd be lovely if anybody has any questions.